Okay.
We
and this is streaming to Stevens Network?
No, it's going to be on mine. For some reason, Restream.io, which is what I'm using to send this, charges to be able to send to groups or whatever. So we'll have to share from Facebook out.
Okay.
So if you go to my page, you should see it live.
Okay. Hang on just a second. Let me go back and get that real quick. I wonder how I can get it on my page.
You should be able to just share it. Here we go. I see it now, and I'm sharing it to a group. I'm sharing it to SJ Network. Post.
Okay, and this is on your I'll be going live in a few minutes post? That's the last one I got from you.
No, if you go on my page now, you'll see that I'm live. We're actually live right now. Hi, everybody.
Hey!
Post, and I'm going to share it to Realm of the Mist group.
Okay, and then I'm going to share it to mine.
I shared it to Realm of the Mist, I shared it to SJ Network, and I shared it to Promote Your Podcast, so you'll find it in any one of those.
And this is the Coast to Coast Power Hour post?
Yep, that's the one.
All right, cool. Let me share it to my groups here real quick, and then we'll get going, man.
Then I'm going to pull up the stream and shut off the volume so I could actually hear or see what's going on, but not hear myself because that's just weird. What's up, Austin? I see you watching. Welcome to an experiment more than anything else. I am not your host, Christopher Stolle. The host is actually the other guy who's still sharing out. That's the other Chris. It's a tale of two Chris's tonight, guys.
Yeah, two Chris's don't make a right.
That's right.
but
but three rights make a left. Just remember that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that always gets you going back in the other direction. So, yeah, hey man, shout out to Stephen Joyner for getting us on the phone together, and we came up with this at 6:30. So we had like a half hour to put it all together, and then here we are an hour later, just Forrest Gumping our way through it.
That's really it. Really is Forrest Gumping, but we. Right now, you know what? That's a perfect analogy because right now I'm thinking it's like a shrimping boat. It's like you're Forrest and I'm Lieutenant Dan, and we're just waiting for the hurricane to finally give us some freaking shrimp. You know.
We came up with this at 6:30, right? So we had like a half. Hang on just a second. I've got an audio problem.
Here we are now. Yeah, I hear us.
It really is Forrest Gumping, but we right now.
So we are right now live, and we're hoping you guys will join us and enjoy us and hopefully be a part of us. And if you're not, well, that's all right. Maybe you'll catch the replay. For future reference, we will be trying to do this video-wise. We just got to figure it out. Like, when this idea came out, like Chris was saying, when this idea came out, we were originally coming up with an idea of giving you guys, like, a story time and reading you a book. But it turned into this. We had no preparation time. This is completely on the fly, so I apologize if it seems a little unprofessional. But hey, we're here. Let's talk some stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely very organic, that's for sure.
It was top of the minute. So, I mean, all right. I guess we had a conversation for this, did we not?
Yeah, we were going to talk about looking for the silver lining with everything that's going on right now. Obviously, there's multiple sources out there that can give you all of the doomsday stats and all of the bad news, and this is going on and that's going on. But we were kind of talking collectively as a group as trying to find a way to, let's find the silver lining in some of these things that are going on. And kind of look at it from a positive spin, so that way, 15 days or 30 days or however long this goes on, each state is going through different kind of shutdown protocols right now where you've got restricted movement on the streets and everything. That just started here in Indiana. That's where I am. I know where my co-host Joe is. They haven't started that yet. They're not really even talking about it. In California, they're on a statewide shutdown. San Francisco is 24 hours of no movement, period. And there on the East Coast, it's progressing differently from one state to the next. And we just want to kind of provide a little bit of levity and maybe some distraction from all of this, and take some positive spins on what we can control, because there's so much uncontrollable going on right now.
I agree. And by the way, just hi, Dan Laria. For people that are listening, if you want to join the conversation, we are doing this over Facebook Messenger, this conversation. So you might hear a little skipping and everything else. If you want to join, let us know in the chat, man. We'll bring you into the call. We want to hear your voices too. But yeah, that's the big thing. Like, everybody right now in the world, what really it is the world. I mean, we of course hit home with the United States. Yeah, but it is really the world. We could look at it from this standpoint. Like, all of us are getting fed horrible news on media and social media and the news every night. We're hearing about the terrible shit, but we're not really getting a good chance to take a look at some of the positives that can come from it that we were giving examples to in a phone conversation earlier tonight. And I agree. I think that's a great thing for us to really kind of delve into. And I don't know. Not only do we want to hear what you guys think, we'll give you some ideas to weather the storm, as it were.
Yeah, definitely finding positive ways to be able to. There's a lot of things that are distracting or pulling your attention and causing stress, and being able to find positive ways to be able to drive that and get the family unit together, as it were, or if it's just you and your spouse at the house, figuring out a way to live together 24 hours a day and not drive each other nuts or want to be at each other's throat. The one thing that will definitely go up during all of this is pregnancy rates, and probably some weight gain will go on across the country. One thing I would hate to see as a fallout of this is any family separation or anything. So let's find a good positive way to deal with each other, how to deal with your neighbors with social distancing as a thing right now, and looking at the collective groups that we can have together publicly is only 10 at a time, and unless you live in Germany, they're only allowing 3 people to gather at any given time. So the best way to do that is to actually look within these groups that we all have on our social media and talk together, 1,000 or 2,000 at a time, or even if it's just 25 in your group. Get on there and look for positive outcomes for this instead of just focusing on the negative. I think is a real big deal for everybody.
See, I agree with that. I think social media, social media in general, which I normally, if you guys pay attention to any of the Realm of the Mist shows, I'm usually pretty harsh on social media, because I think it's been a major downfall to society, and especially the human interaction. However, in this instance, I think that is probably one of the best ways possible to be able to still connect and have that human feeling, not feel so isolated. Like, I'm thinking back, and honestly, this is something I was thinking about in many conversations. I was thinking about back to, like, when I would get grounded as a kid. As an example, when I would get grounded as a kid and I'd be, locked in my room where, there was no computers or online video games or anything like that to be able to socialize with the outside world while I was in-house. There's no excuse for that nowadays. We have our phones, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, and the loneliness factor, besides the human connection, as I stated before, they actually be able to reach out and touch someone. Minus that, I mean, this is really what these platforms were designed for, is to be able to.
Yeah, that is definitely a saving grace. Yeah.
Is being able to interact and connect to each other and still talk to each other and be able to share information, share news, share feelings and emotions, share silly meme pictures, whatever you share, to just help each other through. And I think that's one of the times you're actually, I know, mark it on the calendar. It's one of the first times Christopher Stolle actually says something nice about social media, but here it is.
And another cool thing is here we are, two podcasters, people that are in the podcast community, and we both have our own shows and we both have our own content that we look after. And here we are in this situation on, like an hour's notice, never having worked a show together, coming together inside of all of these different networks that we're a part of, and allowing people just the opportunity to kind of distract themselves, turn off the news, sit around for a minute and join us in the conversation on Facebook, on your page, and let's interact together and let's talk about the things not only that is worrying us. Maybe Chris and Chris can have an anecdote or some information that maybe alleviates that stress for you, or maybe we can just come up with a silly story that adds a little bit of levity to the whole situation and not just worry about it for the night, because we know that we have food in the fridge and we're going to wake up in the morning, God willing, and just go from there.
Yeah,
that's a good opportunity.
I'll tell you what. If there's one fallout from this episode tonight, it's the fact that you and I will be putting together our own podcast one day called "The Tale of Two Chris's." It's going to happen.
It almost has to at this point.
Yeah. But I mean, you're absolutely right. If you got food in your fridge, you got toilet paper in the bathroom. I know it's a bad joke, but I mean, come on.
It is, but it's real. It's crazy. It's so crazy.
It is real, but I mean, if you're able to wipe your butt after eating a meal, you're good to go.
And even if you don't have TP, just go in the shower and turn that sucker on and just waffle stomp that down the drain, and just go on about your day. I mean, shit, it is what it is.
It took 12 minutes for us to go to toilet humor.
But looking around at everything, like you're in Pennsylvania and I'm in Indiana,
right?
And is the National Guard on the street right now? It's not for us, is it for you?
No, the only thing the National Guard was involved with, as I was saying on the phone, Friday is when the mandatory shutdown of all non-life essential jobs happened. So end of business day Friday was when all businesses had to close down, like my job. I'm a fence installer for a fencing contracting company. And they shut us down, and they were the National Guard was coming in to enforce it on Saturday for any jobs that were like, fuck you, we're doing it anyway.
Right.
So that's about the extent of the involvement of the National Guard, as far as I understand. I've not seen any like tanks rolling down the boulevard or anything, But
we haven't either. And from my understanding at this point is that they are just involved to help with distribution of goods, to help in the supply chain of things. And then if it does get, like in New York and Florida, those are two prime examples right now where there's a lot of people that are being dismissive of what's going on. And that's all well and good. Everybody can act however you feel is appropriate to act. But like we were talking about on the phone call, Chris, what they're trying to do is protect two major age demographics. That's the 60 pluses and the newborns to 3-year-olds.
Right.
Those newborns, they have they don't have a very anything. They have a very low tolerance. They don't have a immune system actually built up yet. And for the older folks, they're very susceptible just because they have so many, whatever the hell it is, symptoms and underlying reasons to be susceptible to this. They're trying to protect that, and the last thing you want to do is to wake up in the morning and find out that because you were going out in public, you allowed somebody's grandma to get sick because you served her at the grocery store or you came in contact with them at the insurance office or whatever. We're trying to really cull that spike in a big way, and hopefully the next step is the Andrews Law, which allows the president to actually declare the military state. And I think they're doing everything they can to try to avoid it, hopefully. It's just a weird time, and a lot of people got a lot of stuff on their minds that are really worrying them. And you got any topics that are coming in on your Facebook feed?
Not at the exact moment. People are just kind of jumping in, jumping out, probably wondering what's going on there. So, I'm still sharing it out. Yeah. Oh yeah, with your permission, I'll be interrupting from time to time when like questions or something like that do come in. Which again, by the way, guys, for those that are listening, we are live on Facebook Live. It is on my personal page, Christopher Michael Stolle. However, we did share it to all the group networks and everything. You guys can just click on the video from wherever you find it and interact with us. Send us your questions. And again, if you have Facebook Messenger and you'd like to come on and share your stories, share some ideas that maybe you have, or even just want to share the what it's like right now in your city, like the situation in your city or your state, please, by all means, give us a holler. Let us know. We'll bring you on the call. But the major fact that I'm thinking of right now, like you said, is that we are trying to protect those two groups. However, like I said in the phone conversation, I do wonder if it isn't a little extreme bringing in things like the military, or which the National Guard really is. It may be a lower form of the military, but it's still military.
It's still military, yeah.
I wonder if that's not a little. To me, it seems like using a bazooka to kill an ant farm. Yeah, it's a weird analogy, but it's a weird situation.
Yeah, definitely. And hang on just a second. My co-host Joe, he's free now, so he's able to jump on. Let me see if I can add him real quick, okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, let's bring more people in. The more the merrier.
Yeah, definitely. Right. No, not that one. Add group members. Cancel, add to group. Joe. Everybody excuse me while I'm talking to myself. I have to talk to myself to make my computer cooperate appropriately.
Sometimes it's the way you got to do it. Josh Acerbo, my old lead guitarist for a band I had 12 years ago. Welcome to the conversation. How you doing?
And there's Joe.
Hey, Joe, how you doing, brother?
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm going to make this easy for you. My name's Chris.
Hey, I can remember that.
My buddy Josh just turned around and said real quick, he said this thing caused 5 crisis. It's much worse than it could be. How bad it is until it's over, and we all likely be shit. And Don Smith just decided to join us as well. Josh will apologize. He's at work right now, so he probably won't be staying long. Josh works retail.
What's up, Don?
That's right. So again, guys, we're welcoming Chris's co-host Don to the crazy things. Sorry, go ahead. We're still working out the bugs, guys.
Don has his own show. My co-host Joe is on the show.
Wow, I'm just screwing up names tonight. Look at me. Joe is the co-host to the other Chris, not this Chris talking now.
Uh-huh.
Or manufacturing, excuse me. He's in manufacturing.
I'm Larry, this is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
I'm my own grandpa. You know what? It's kind of funny. You want a little bit of levity? I'll give you a tiny bit of levity. When years and years and years ago, when I was still getting high and drunk in high school, I was in a band called Defenestrate, and I kid you not, this band was 3 Chris's and 2 Jims. Me and the 2 other Chris's used to walk. Yeah, me and the other 2 Chris's used to walk around being very, very nerdy and geeky. The whole Star Trek thing, like the Borg. It's like we are the Chris. Resistance is futile. You will be annoyed. Yeah. So it's I'm kind of having flashbacks to that right now.
Me and all the other Chris's that I hung out with in high school, and this is like 40 years ago. 30 years ago, but. There was like 4 other Chris's that I hung out with, and we all called it the Chris Conspiracy. That was the name of our group.
Anthony
Anyways,
and Richard J,
Joe,
welcome to the conversation. Just to let you guys know, not to interrupt you real quick, Richard J is all the way in Wales. He's a good buddy of mine.
What's up, Rich?
Yeah, that's right. He's across the pond, as it were.
As it were.
Oh,
A capital day.
A capital day. Top of the morning to you.
yeah.
Yeah. So going back to what we were talking to before Joe was able to join, just to clue him in a little bit.
Right.
You know, looking for the silver lining on everything that's going on. You know, everybody has multiple news sources going on. And for anybody else who's just joining us on the broadcast, there's so many negative takes that you can go to bed with tonight or spend your dinner with your spouse with, instead of talking positively about things. Instead of focusing on the news and what they have to report, let's just figure out a way to sit amongst ourselves in these groups, practicing social distancing, and come up with some levity or some ways to distract from what the media, not the media focus is. I don't want to paint them in a bad light, but in some cases they are really making people freak out. And to take away from that, turn off your local news and listen to this, or turn on a movie, pick up a book, and figure out a way that, you know, here in a couple weeks, whenever the first prediction for this to be over with, which I think is way undersold, I think we're looking at more like 30 to 45 days minimum before we even start returning back to normal. You know, let's look at some things that we can all do together to have more of a positive spin on things. And that's what me and Chris are talking about, Joe, just to bring you up to speed real quick, okay?
Yeah. I've seen a couple things on the news. I mean, a lot of it is kind of gloom and doom and you know, act now or shit's going to get real bad. Am I allowed to say shit? Is this cool?
Yeah,
Fuck, watch your language, damn it.
All right.
Yeah, goddamn.
But I've also seen a lot of stories about you know, some good stuff going on. There's a story right there in Evansville, actually, where you're at, where I used to be.
Yeah.
About some local places that are actually building masks for the local hospital, the local.
Yeah, there's like 6 groups going on right now where they're doing like a sewing circle assembly line where they're building these masks. It's cool.
Yeah, and you know, that's kind of what we need right now, is just people kind of helping people from that kind of standpoint. And if everyone just kind of does what they're supposed to do and behaves themselves, and I know it's hard. I mean, I've been going out every day and just kind of going for a walk with the baby and the dog and stuff. And if I see someone, I kind of walk the other direction. But you know, just to, you know, to be able to go out and see the light of day and not feel like you're kind of, you know, on lockdown per se. But just go out and kind of do your normal routine kind of things. I can't go to the gym these days, so you know, I'll just kind of go for long walks. Went out for hiking in the desert the other day. That's what you do in Arizona. There's a lot of sand and dirt that you can walk around in. So, and you know, so we're still getting out and doing things, and it felt really good to get out there and you know, still kind of feel like you're doing the norm on the normal routine, and then coming back and, you know, shutting her up for the night, throwing on an old movie, or I started watching Narcos. I'm gonna get a plug for our show in right now. I started watching Narcos last night. So, and it's a really good series. So
shameless plug. Shameless
fuck.
Are we not in the trust tree right now? What's going on?
Absolutely, we're in the trust tree.
Well, just to let you guys know, we are joined by Mitta Goodwin now. Welcome, Mitta. And just to let you know, I got admonished a little bit here by my buddy Richard J. from Wales. He says, you say I'm from Wales, and then you start with mocking London accents. You guys realize London is in England, right? It's a different country, you stupid French-Canadian fucks.
I thought it was all the British Empire.
I love how he called us Canadian. That's sharp. I like that.
What a man!
So, you know, but you know, Joe, right? It's Joe, yeah. You hit the nail right on the head. It was Joe the whole time. He was in the library with the candlestick next to Colonel Mustard. But no, you hit the nail right on the head. One of the things we wanted to discuss, and we definitely want to get it from you guys as well, listening and watching and all that, is just some ideas that we could throw out there. People like you said, you went out to the desert over the weekend. I took my kids to our local park, which when I describe a local park in Philadelphia, it's a really wooded area with a creek and everything else. Really nobody around you and stuff. I took them out for that, and it's like we really should be giving people like positive things to do while they're on, for lack of a better term, lockdown. Even at the house, like I said during the phone conversations, I took my kids' tablets and phones away, and mandatory that we sit down to watch a movie together, or we made it mandatory. I taught them how to play Magic the Gathering, and my kids, I already taught them how to play Dungeons and Dragons, but games, playing games together as a family. And one of the positives that I hope,
go back to the 80s,
one of the positives I'm hoping will come out of this, especially on the other side of the tunnel here, is that people do start having that family interaction where it becomes a routine to have a family game night or a family unplug night in some way, shape, or form, but yet where they're all spending time together, because that's something that's been lost up until we were kind of forced to lock back down.
Couldn't agree more.
So
and like I was talking about earlier is one of the things that I hope comes out of all of this as we go into discussing what you can do with the family unit and whatnot to make it a more of a positive or interactive experience and kind of divert, especially with the kids, you want to divert their attention away from the negativity that's going on out there, or all of the have-nots that are saying we don't have this, we don't have that. Hopefully all of the things that come out of this, like game time or story time, dinner at the family table, a lot of this stuff is things that were commonplace every day of the night, or every day of the week, every day of the week in America. And hopefully some of these are things that we can instill as habits that last beyond the quarantine. So that way we can get back to a little bit of, old-fashioned Americana, where you have dinner at the dinner table with your family a couple times a week, just to catch up and see what's going on, and make that game night a regular practice, or story time, or family movie night, or whatever. I mean, these are things that we're obviously sorely missing, or else everybody wouldn't be freaking out about being alone in their home with their own families for an extended period of time.
Well, again, I mean, even the people that, I know there's people listening right now, to this video, this episode, whatever you want to call it, who maybe they don't have a family, maybe they live alone, or whatever the case may be. There are options nowadays where Facebook has a watch party. Pick a movie, stream it on Facebook, and have people join you in a conversation. There's really, in this day and information day and age, there's no excuse to feel alone. And
that's really what the backbone of social media was all about to begin with. That's what this was intended for. 13, 14 years ago, whenever Steve Jobs was pissed off about how the Wi-Fi is being used, he didn't want the iPhones to be what they are right now. He wanted them to be something that actually accomplished what we're talking about right now, the overall connection of everybody, being able to share ideas, share dreams, share stories, and everybody kind of sit around the campfire, so to speak, and share these ideas, or in some cases experiences. Like this would be a great opportunity for someone to be able to go and talk to, do you know a World War II veteran that's alive right now? Go and talk to him and record it like this.
You know what? I've been wanting to interview a World War II vet. I really have. But I do have to point these out in the chat here. We have Richard J. saying, "Speak for yourself. I'm sick of the sight and sound of my wife."
What's up?
And Josh Acerbo says that I need to record some more beats. For you guys who don't know, I've been working on a solo album. I promise you, Josh, I am still working on it.
And hey, guys.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to interrupt you. I got to jump off here. I just had to jump on for a second to kind of just let
your voice be known.
Yeah.
Well, you got something you want to promote real quick before you get off? Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, we're at What's Your Effing Binge. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Facebook through our fan page, direct link. Castbox. There's a couple other ones. Chris is pretty good at pushing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also do want to say that I didn't hang out with any Joes in high school because they were all dicks.
My oldest kid is named Joe, so I'm forced to agree with you.
But I do have to jump off here on the family dinner note, and I got a quiche in the oven, so I got to jump off here and
don't let that motherfucker fall
and do the family thing. So, but thanks for having me, guys, and look forward to doing it again.
Right on, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thanks.
See you in a little bit, Joe.
Yep.
As I was saying, Josh turned around and said the most positive thing I'm taking from this is the lesson about preparedness. There is a lot to learn here, and we are going to be okay. I am grateful for the opportunity for self-improvement.
Ooh.
And but that's an awesome
That
thing.
Is a heavy subject, isn't it?
Anthony, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Keep it up, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, man, I was just saying that's a heavy topic right there. Like everybody looking at your preparedness for a month of being shut in and finding out how adequately we are prepared to the point where there's a toilet paper shortage. Because that's the first thing that everybody focused in on.
Well, you know what? Odd. You know what? Over here at Realm of Mist, we did one of our comedy shows called After Hours, which is a no holds barred being assholes for an hour, for lack of a better term. And we really did hit on that because that confused the hell out of me. The whole entire toilet paper fiasco. Like, I do not get how this virus in any way, shape, or form screams, let me get shit paper before it runs out. Like, isn't this, for lack of a better term, isn't this a flu with on steroids? It's not like an intestinal issue.
And if that is not as clear a picture as there is on the difference between the haves and have-nots, where people stockpiled toilet paper to the point that if you go into the Family Dollar, which is like the last place you're looking to go and stockpile shit up, but if you go into the Family Dollar right now, up the block from you, and go back to the paper aisle, you see nothing but shelves all the way to the laundry detergent. It's like a solid 60 feet of empty shelves, even there, let alone a Walmart or your local big-time grocery or whatever. Even it's trickled down all the way to that, and it's like, what a weird thing for everybody to become super tied up over. I mean, I don't even know what the root cause of that was. I don't remember seeing any news articles or anything about it. Better make sure you had plenty of paper goods. That's just a very weird thing. I don't know why everybody gravitated towards that.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is I really don't get the all of a sudden major demand for toilet paper, tissue paper, tissues as in like facial tissue, not tissues as in like I need to wrap a present this week. But I mean, and you're right. It makes no sense. Marcia, what's up? AKA Dusty of the Sock Drawer Podcast. How you doing? Joining us.
That's what's up.
So, I mean, and you're absolutely right. It's like the big thing, another big thing I hope people take away from this is do not revert into animalistic behaviors. And I'll give an example. The local convenience stores here, known as a Wawa. I don't remember if Indiana has a Wawa there. I don't think they do.
Northern Indiana does, but not down here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Wawa, they used to have self-serving coffee. They enforced a lot of things in there to where they only allow 10 customers in at a time. So that way they have the space where they the convenience store to shop, do what they need to do. They shut down things like slushy machines and the like, because if they can't control it or individually wrap it, they don't want you interacting with it, because God forbid you're sick or you get somebody else sick or somebody gets you sick. You know the reasons. With the coffee aisle, they shut down the self-serve coffee aisle, and what they did is they started making some of their employees, for lack of better terms, they made them baristas. So you walk up and you say, "Hey, I'll take a 20-ounce dark roast with cream and sugar," and they make it for you. They hand it to you. You go to the register to pay for it. Apparently, at one of the local Wawas, a customer came in wanting coffee, and apparently they were out of it. They were out of that particular style of coffee. And this person was so irate, he tried to spit on the poor girl trying to make coffee.
Oh, my God. Really? That really happened?
That really happened.
Jesus Christ, people. Yeah, you got to take a break.
This is what I'm talking about animalistic behavior. The behavior where we have teenagers walking into grocery stores over to the produce aisles and coughing and breathing on the food, hoping to make people sick. This is not a joke. This is not funny. This is something serious, and quite honestly, I gotta think, if you're doing that because you want to make a Facebook video, and look, I'm funny, like the idiots that lick ice cream, haha, this is funny. What happens if you're one of those people that didn't know you had the coronavirus and you just pass it on, and you find out that was you?
That brings up a whole nother question. Talking about this over the weekend with my wife and her sister. Sunday was my wife Angie's birthday, and
happy belated birthday!
Yeah, and we got to spend a great, wonderful day partying at home together by ourselves. And but one of the topics of conversation, what I brought up is, so what happens whenever one of these big retailers who's staying open, like Target or Walmart or whatever the case is, and somebody goes in there and through no fault of their own, or Walmart's or Target's, anybody's, they come out of it and get Grandma June sick. And then Grandma gets gravely ill and passes away. I wonder what the short downfall of all of this is going to be, is just an incredible avalanche of litigation. I'm hoping that's not the course that people take, but I'm wondering how many people are going to be targeting retailers as they see their bag at the end of the day, their cash bag to be able to grab, and maybe this is a moment of weakness to get some payouts. I'm hoping that this isn't happening. But I think that we're going to see some cases of it.
Well, I do think that the retail companies, like, obviously this isn't a Walmart or a Target, which before I even get into that topic of conversation, all of us have been singing the songs, the heroes of the people that are continuing to work through this while the rest of us are on furloughs or layoffs or quarantine right now. Of course, we're talking about like our first responders, our police, our fire department, our hospital workers, our nurses, and of course, sing song heroes through and through, because they got to be around this stuff all the time. But I gotta give it up to the retail worker as well. I mean, because the fact that besides the big box guys like Walmart or Target, my wife, for example, works for Dollar Tree. They're still open. Yeah. They're still considered life essential because they sell food. That's really why it's open is food. And these people, 9 times out of 10, they don't make much money to be putting their life on the line, which I hate to
no, they don't make anything. Yeah.
I hate to say it that way, because it almost sounds like fear mongering, but I mean this is a dangerous virus. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, well, they might get the sniffles. No, if they got an illness or they don't take care of it right away or something like that, it could be life-threatening. So they are putting their lives on the line.
Yeah.
And I got to give it up to some of these places, because they are trying to at least in some way, shape, or form compensate. Like, to give an example, my wife's job is offering everybody who's working through this right now $2 additional an hour in their pay.
Okay.
So they are getting a $2 an hour raise to work. that's, I mean, is it skyrocketing great? No, of course not. But is it something at least showing that companies are saying, hey, we recognize you're doing this? Yeah.
These corporations that are going to bat and adding things for their employees, like what you're just talking about, the $2 an hour bump. Or in my wife's case, she bartended at a place on one of the busiest streets in southern Indiana, period, where they, as the place became closed, they made sure that all of their employees had as much food as they could carry out.
Nice.
And while they were working, eat all you want, take stuff home to your family. Just a great family environment. That's at the small retail area, and then it moving up to a large chain like the Dollar Tree or Dollar Island or whatever incarnation is in your neighborhood of the dollar stores. Like that, everybody knows some form of it, where they're given a bump hourly to their employees. And if you, at least here in southern Indiana, if you go to one of those stores, one of those dollar stores, you're going to see a lot of employees that are a little bit up there in age. You're going to see some women that are, upper 50s or 60s or beyond retirement, and this is their kind of part-time gig. I mean, they are kind of putting themselves in harm's way. They really and truly are. For just a couple bucks an hour, at the end of the day, those people who are sacrificing family time and also sacrificing possibly personal health to stay employed and make sure that the public is able to have access to these goods and services. And I mean, it's just there are a lot of heroes out there right now that aren't being recognized.
Exactly.
Whether it's the corporation that you work for itself or the employee that's on the front line dealing with the public. And right now the public is being, not as a whole, you're seeing this in like 1 or 2% of the stories, but there is a large portion of news that's coming where people are just being downright ugly, dealing with that retail employee whenever they're just enforcing what the corporation has told them to do, and people are being ugly with them, like the gentleman, I can't say gentleman at this point in time, the cocksucker who was trying to spit on the chick for serving him not having the coffee he wanted. That's right. I mean, $9 or $10 an hour to sell pump of gas, and then have some guy come in and try to spit at you because you don't have his Colombian dark roast. Fuck that guy.
Exactly. You're absolutely right, because poor girl, I mean, she's working for peanuts to begin with. She's there doing a job that's probably not her normal routine at that particular job to begin with.
Yeah.
And this poor girl's got to go home to her family, whether it be a boyfriend or maybe she's young and lives at home with her parents, God forbid, elderly parents.
Yeah, she's like, I just got spit on and I got to come home to everybody.
Yeah, and God forbid that person has the virus or whatever, or God, not even the virus. They could have some other disease, going on that she winds up catching. It's just, that's a horrible thing to do to somebody. And
yeah, it definitely is.
Now, Josh did turn around and say sleep is one of the single most important factors in helping your immune system fight a virus. Who is getting the least amount of sleep? Nurses and doctors. He's absolutely right on that. And of course, I've got to turn around and say hi to Kim, who joined us today. Just joined us. So, hi, Kim.
What's up, Kim? So, yeah, those frontline people that are in the hospitals or at the testing sites, in the ERs, at the MEC facilities, and those kinds of things, they're sacrificing a lot of time at home with their families. And they're doing it in a way that right now is not exactly the most protected way, because they're running out of the mask. They're running out of the gloves. All of this stuff is going on, and they're sacrificing this time to make sure that, as not necessarily a first responder, but as a person who's on the front line in the medical community, to provide testing and go through all of this stuff. They're sacrificing a lot. And my wife was telling me about a story of a lady today who She knows that she's having to spend extra time at the hospital. She works in the ER, and so she kissed her children and her spouse for the last time for as far as she can see, at least the next 30 days. And even if they are in the same room together, she's making sure that she maintains at least 6 feet of distance. So that way, if she does cough or whatever, she doesn't expose her family to it. That is an incredible sacrifice to make sure that everybody else has testing available to them, top-rate care, and you compound that with the fact that they're losing sleep because instead of working a 50, 60-hour work week like a medical professional will, they don't work 30 or 40 hours a week like most people. They work 50, 60, 70 hours a week.
Right.
They're sacrificing a lot of time to begin with, and they're interacting with the public who, as we just noted, can be incredibly ugly over the stupidest things. And in the meantime, they have the wherewithal to be able to go home and make the changes or put the status in place to make sure that they don't risk their family's health. And the next time you see somebody and they're wearing scrubs, buy them a fucking cup of coffee.
You're not wrong, and something I'm thinking about, like just thinking about this conversation and thinking about that asshole who tried to spit on the girl, like this virus is very, very, again, we're looking for the silver lining in things. This virus is very, very easy to avoid when you think about it, from a very simple common sense standpoint. One, wash your hands. Isn't that something we're supposed to do anyway? Second off, be cognizant of people's personal space. Cover your mouth when you cough, and
don't breathe on my neck. Yeah.
Right. Don't breathe down their neck. Don't be rubbing up against somebody on the bus, It seems all common sense things to me, really. And the biggest one of all, which should be the easiest one for everybody in the world because we all talk about it, but it's putting it into practice, is just be kind to each other.
That's been the lead of my on the What's Your Effing Bidge fan pages. At the end of every post, hey, just remember to be kind and nice to everybody. But my sister posted this thing the other day where shit, I'm going to lose my train of thought here on this. But she was talking about the fact that people are going out and they're doing these rude things and they're being mean to each other and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, washing your hands, if we all master that this week, next week we all get to go out and learn our colors and shapes.
Yay! Yay! Do I have to draw on the lines?
You get to cut your little finger turkey, whenever you're in second grade and you do the hand turkey.
Oh.
Yeah, if you learn how to wash your hands, you can cut your turkey next week. Yeah.
When do we do macaroni art?
That's 6 months down the road, bro.
Oh, wow. I got to work up to that. First I got to master safety scissors. Wow. No, but you're
so fucking ridiculous. But it's true,
Man. All right, Chris, let me ask you a question because we keep skirting around it. We kind of touched on it a little bit while Joe was joining us. What are you and your family doing right now to pass the time and keep yourself safe? Like, what is some of the positivity that's happening over in the Rudder household right now?
Yeah, man. So we have a advantage or disadvantage depending on how you look at it. I'm 50, and my daughter is 25, and that's the only child that I have.
Okay.
So she doesn't live at home. So it's just me and my wife. And what we have done is my podcast is all about binge watching TV series and what people are watching. So she's joined on that journey with me and watched a lot of ridiculous shows that people have suggested to me. and in the interim, we've stockpiled a lot of groceries. We've made sure that our family has had any surplus that we have. We've been able to pass it on, especially to our daughter and her boyfriend and whatnot. And right now we have a pretty regular schedule of sitting down and enjoying dinner together, kind of talking about what's going on, but we take that moment to not really focus on what's going on as far as the pandemic goes, but talk about what's going on with Breaking Bad.
Right.
What the f- is Walt doing right now? And it's really alleviated a lot of the stress to be able to lose yourself in one series or another. Talk about what people are going through on Facebook and then making fun of it. Not to make fun of the humanity part of it, but to make fun of the topical part of it.
Right.
And to avoid getting too heavy with it. That's been me and my wife's name is Angie. That's been our biggest focus so far, is not getting too tied up in what the negativity or what the weight of the situation is. I mean, we have an hour or two a day where we're like, oh fuck, but we get ourselves back to neutral, and we're able to talk about, hey, whenever this is all over with, I'm going to go do XYZ. Or, hey, tomorrow before the lockdown happens, let's go out for a walk. Let's just go on a hike before the lockdown actually happens. If they roll tanks down Main Avenue, I want to say I took a walk to Garvin Park and fed the ducks bread.
Right.
That's kind of what we're talking about right now, and that's kind of what our daily is like, because we're both bartenders, which means we've been part of the lockdown since a week ago Sunday night. So,
which means you guys are both unemployed at the moment.
Oh, yeah. As part of the service industry, it's about 12 to 15% of America, and we were at the front line of that as one of the first states that actually imposed the lockdown on non-essential shit. And so we've been unemployed since last week on Monday. And we've spent a great deal of time together, and we've tried to be constructive with everything that we're doing, but also at the same time, trying to be uplifting and looking within the community and seeing who needs help. At least posting them a tag to let them know what 1-800 number you can call that's offering assistance right now. We've been really diligent on keeping an eye out on that stuff right now and making sure that everybody on Facebook knows everything that we hear as soon as we hear it. And maybe I don't know. I don't want to sound too nerdy with it, but a commitment to public service to an extent has been our focus.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Knows what we know.
There's nothing wrong with that. In most of our Realm of the Mist videos and audios, if you look at the descriptions and right before you get into, like, you can find us here, and here, and here, click this, click this, click this, click this, is a suicide hotline, which I have on every...
I'm so fucking afraid of right now, bro, is people who don't know where to go or what to do, and someone who has dealt with an incredible amount of substance abuse in their lifetime, which I have done and I have overcome in certain ways, and blah, blah, blah. But I know that there's a lot of people out there who are dealing with this that are extremely susceptible to becoming super depressed or not knowing where to go. That's my biggest fear out of all of this. 30 days from now, a person you haven't heard from in 3 days, what's going on?
Right.
What's the way to be able to stay in contact with these people that are at risk? Just because you're not using right now, you still know people who are. I mean, that's kind of the way that community works. My wife and I are big examples of that. Knowing people who work in the strip clubs and the bars and all this stuff, and so you worry about them. If you don't see a post from them for a couple days, check in. See what's up. Don't let anybody get inside their own head and, fuck with them. If nothing else, just get a rise out of them, just make sure they're cool.
Take the Mickey out of them. No, but you have a great point. And first off, I gotta mention the binge thing, because first off, Josh was talking about like Doctor Who, and he's giving props to Jodie Whittaker doing a great job. I am not a Whovian, so I'll have to say on that. But in
Who is good? Who is very good. Yeah.
But as far as binge watching is concerned, actually one of the things that we've been doing pretty much before the lockdown, but been doing more in my household. My wife and I, we sit down and we watch. We've been binging through the complete series of The Shield right now. Neither of us have ever watched that series before. We're actually on the last disc of the final season, so it's about to end. We're already talking about like maybe Sopranos next.
Oh man! So our list of standing tens. If anybody wants something to be able to dive into and get you through the next 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, our list of standing tens. If you haven't watched any of these, we highly suggest you watch The Sopranos, Sons of Anarchy, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Vikings, Peaky Blinders, Shameless, or The Office. If you watch any of those 8, there's enough content that will take you through at least the next couple of weeks. If you watch it fucking 10 hours a day, you'll get through the next couple of weeks and see a lot of stuff that will distract you from what's going on out there and not paying attention to the bad news bears, so to speak. You know?
Can I throw some of my own personal recommendations in there?
Go on with it. Bring it.
Well, of course, you got 10 seasons of The Walking Dead you could jump into.
Well, that's a 10 as well, but Joe doesn't agree on that, so I only throw it in whenever he's on the phone, so you can say, I hate Eugene. That's his biggest thing he hates about it. But
well, I hate Eugene too, but I would I would highly recommend the 2005 reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Yes. I agree with you on that one. It doesn't have enough content to make it a standing 10 for us, but I think it's very good. Yeah.
Well, I think I would also throw in just, either before or after you sit down for Battlestar Galactica, I've got to throw this one in. It's one season, but it's anybody who doesn't agree is wrong. Firefly.
Firefly was awesome. Yeah. That's about a 1 in 100 mention. Very few people bring that one up. That's a good one. Yes.
And of course you got the Star Trek seasons and everything. Not the new shit. Screw that shit. But I mean like the original series, Enterprise, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. There is plenty of content out there. Yeah.
So from this conversation, and obviously for everybody. Chris and I haven't spoken on any of this at any length at all, but you're more of a Star Trek, not Star Wars guy, right?
Oh no, I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm 100% a Star Wars guy.
Oh.
I like Star Trek, but Wars all day.
Okay, all right, good. So have you seen the new rumors on Mandalorian?
With Rosario Dawson becoming Ahsoka Tano. Yes, I have seen that, and
oh my god, that is so awesome.
I have been screaming for Rosario Dawson since they came out with Ahsoka. Remember having this conversation on Breaking the Fourth Wall, is that if they ever made a live-action Ahsoka, my first choice was Rosario. I thought she'd be perfect for
it. So my first exposure to Ahsoka was in 1989. I have been a real huge book nerd and everything, so I have to state my age. I'm 50, and I was there at the opening weekend of the first Star Wars, so I've been a huge fan ever since the very beginning.
I'm 43, and I was there. I was 5 months old, but I was there. My mother took me.
She has been an incredible character that has been woven through all of the book series, but never made a screen appearance. She's one of only 3 characters who has done that. Been in all of the book series, but never actually been on screen. And the fact that they're bringing her on is super fucking exciting. I can't wait to see what he does with the next season. Obviously, bringing her on into production and everything, and writing that story, he's done such a great job with it. There isn't a mark I can give against it, other than the fact that there's just not enough actual volume of material to give it a pure 10. so to speak. But that is definitely a Mandalorian, and what they're going to do with it is going to become a 10, and it's going to be an all-time great, I think.
Well, the big thing is you know, I know a lot of people are very polarized about the Disney era of Star Wars. You know, the sequel trilogy. Most people like Rogue One, but they hated Solo or whatever the case may be. But most people can't deny, man, like Mandalorian's a hit.
It's so solid. It's solid on every stance, man. It's just a really great series. The production and the writing of it. The special effects they've thrown into it, obviously they have a Disney budget behind it, but it's absolutely incredible, and it's only going to do more. And with this addition, with her coming in, is just going to be fabulous. It really is.
Oh, absolutely. But I am going to say one thing to all the Star Wars fans, especially the Fairweather fans that are into the Mandalorian. Baby Yoda is not Yoda.
No, he is not.
He is not Yoda. They only call him Baby Yoda because George Lucas has never officially released the name of the race that Yoda comes from.
Yeah, there is a female Yoda. Her name is
Yodel. Yaddle.
Yaddle. Yep. She appears in the Clone Wars and other stories.
Well,
the race itself is still kind of a mystery unless you read some, you know, really far-reaching shit that doesn't have anything to do with canon. But just the fact that they're including the baby, which in the third episode of The Mandalorian, whenever the Mandalorian meets the Imperial, who's wanting to go after the baby, if you freeze frame that initial meeting, you'll see that the scientist who comes in and startles the Mandalorian, and they all draw guns on each other. If you freeze frame that, you'll see that he is wearing a bracelet that has the symbol of the cloners.
Oh, the Camino Knights. Okay, yeah, that makes.
I think that there is going to be, if it's not this season, hopefully the next season they will bring in the fact that has something a whole lot to do with cloning and the old Empire.
Well, now I'm wondering if maybe Baby Yoda is Yoda. Maybe they cloned Yoda.
Well, no, that cannot be the case. There was something that was written in the Han Solo series where they brought in some Jedi lore into that. And the cloning of a Jedi is forbidden and actually not possible.
Oh, and to be fair, George Lucas did have a name for Yoda's race originally. The race name was going to be the Wills. It's one of the first. It was one of the first ideas for the Wills. Of course, later on that became a type of religion within canon. But he did have an idea for Yoda, but then he decided that it was better for people to never know Yoda's race, like to leave Yoda the mystery. And I hope they.
Yeah.
And I hope they continue with that, but we're talking about Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. If anybody's going to protect Lucas's legacy, it would be them two.
Jon Favreau has done such an incredible job with this, writing in so many of the first 8 episodes have so many tones of the quick and the dead, or the good, bad, and the ugly.
It very much does have a spaghetti western feel to it, doesn't it?
And that it was exactly what Lucas's original idea was to make it a spaghetti western with a space opera feel. And he has done such a good job with that, adhering to those principles and just bringing in the Mandalorian character. I mean, he gets fucked up every episode. He gets shot, rattled, blah, 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 all of this stuff, which is all things that you see the anti-hero go through in spaghetti westerns. He's just done an incredible job with that. I can't give kudos enough. With a couple more seasons of content, it's an absolute Hall of Fame show if they keep it on the same rail that they're going right now. I think it's incredible.
Well, again, like throwing Dave Filoni's name into it, the re-release of Star Wars: The Clone Wars when we go into cartoon, which, by the way, another series you can sit down and binge watch. With season 7 going on right now, we're only 5 episodes in. This is a solid season. Have you seen the new episodes?
Oh, it's incredible.
I mean, the newest episode is about Ahsoka.
And it's almost topical the way that news is matching the real world. But the fact that they're following so many canon storylines in the new series, and I think we have like 12 more episodes to go before it's a wrap. But it's just incredibly well done. They're drawing from the well from the actual movie, the 3 trilogies. They're drawing from the well from the Clone Wars. They're drawing from the well from the Mandalorian, and they're going to combine it all together here in this last hurrah. Is just really, really good teamwork and really good production, and everybody sharing of what their writing ideas are, that they're all tying together that way right now. It's fucking awesome, man.
Oh, it is. It's such a great time to be a Star Trek fan, which what makes me sad, like you mentioned Star Trek, I am a Star Trek fan too. And as much as, like, you know, maybe some people aren't thrilled with the newest movies, the tie-ins to the older movies in the formats of you know, whether it's the one-off movies like Solo or Rogue One, because Solo is kind of polarizing, but most people, like, I'll tell you straight out, I could live without Rogue One. I could. But I couldn't live without that. Oh. I could not live without 2 minutes of a Vader hallway scene. I'm sorry, that was price of admission right there. You know what I mean?
It definitely was. And as far as a standalone series without any actual Jedi involvement, other than I think it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds of total screen time with Darth. Without that 3 minutes, I think it's an exceptional job of tying some things together without any Jedi involvement. And I think that really speaks well to the future of what they can do with the franchise. You don't have to continue forever with Skywalker to make the Star Wars series exciting and to involve a lot of people in it. And I think they showed that with that one movie. I think that was really the principle of that, is to see how many tickets they could sell without it being a Skywalker episode. And I think that it was a proving ground for them, and I think that they did prove some things that enough people will still buy a ticket that is viable to do stories without Skywalker being the center of it.
Well, see,
which is good.
You may have misunderstood me when I say I could do without Rogue One. No, that doesn't mean that I hate the movie. I love the movie. I love the movie a lot. In fact, to me, it ranks directly underneath Empire Strikes Back in the grand scheme of Star Wars. You know, like Rogue One's a really solid movie, but I'm saying if you would have wiped away everything else in Rogue One and just gave me the hallway scene, I would walk out of that theater feeling like money well spent. That's what I mean by that. But to the point that I was going with it was like Star Wars for the most part has been going in the right direction. Whether you agree with the sequel trilogy, you agree with Star Wars Resistance, which, quite honestly, if I ever talked bad about anything Star Wars, it would be Star Wars Resistance. But yeah. That's just bad. But that's holiday special bad. But you know, as far as Star Trek on the opposite end of the coin, Picard and Star Trek Discovery are just complete disappointments.
Yeah, the Picard series is not doing anywhere near as well as they hoped. The reviews of it, and I'm not a big Star Trek guy. Now, I will admit that the last 2 new movies that came out, I actually enjoyed them way more than I did the old ones whenever I was a teenager. All the ones that came out from the 80s to the early 90s were all just rehashes of old plots. And this one, even though it was like, you know, with Khan, it was a reintroduction. It was a redo, but they brought in some new stuff. I enjoy the new movies a lot better than I have a lot of other stuff. So, you know, it's a complicated series because it has so much canon, it has so much fandom that goes all the way back from the 60s till now. So it's hard to speak negatively about it. But I enjoy the new movies more than I do the older ones. You can never beat the old 60s and 70s episodes. But I think Star Wars has taken like way more major steps towards staying current and staying topical and staying on point. Whereas Star Wars or Star Trek keeps rehashing old shit, you know.
Well, like to the people, and I'll say it on this. It's kind of funny. We started off on the coronavirus, and now we're on Star Wars. I'll say this to the people. I've been saying this throughout the whole entire trilogy. With the sequel, as far as the sequel trilogy is concerned, a lot of people have been blasting it, hating it, and there's some things I didn't like about it. It's definitely nothing is touching the original trilogy. It's just we know it's not happening, but. Lightning in a bottle will never strike twice, but I mean, I think the sequel trilogy is going to get the same treatment the prequel trilogy did back in the 90s and early 2000s. When it first released, it released to people hating it. People hated Phantom Menace. They especially hated Attack of the Clones. Most people liked Revenge of the Sith. And I think we got the exact same thing out of the sequel trilogy. A lot of people did like The Force Awakens, but Last Jedi was extremely polarizing, and most people don't really know how to feel about Rise of Skywalker. Give it about 10, 12 years, I think people are going to appreciate the film for what it is. And one of the things I've been preaching throughout the whole entire thing is, like when people were bad-mouthing Last Jedi, the trilogy's not done. Don't take this as Bible thumping truth right now.
Yeah, it's not the end, that's for sure. Yeah, and there's so many open-ended topics that have come up over the last trilogy, and of course with the prequels, there's a lot of empty space in there for Disney, being such a powerhouse production company, that they can really fill in a lot of gaps if they stay even halfway close to canon in all of those gap periods of time. They have just a endless plethora of movies to be able to produce that are going to be polarizing or distancing or bring in new fans. But no matter what, whenever they release something, people are going to watch it. And as long as they do a good, solid job with it, I'm cool with it. I'm really cool with the fact that there is a studio that owns all the rights to it and that they're committing to do the long term with it. And I think that's a good thing. I really do, because they're going to be able to bring a lot of stories to light that a lot of passerby fans would never be privy to. And I think that's something that Disney's actually going to be able to uncover or be able to put on the screen that would never have been able to put up on screen if it was still just Paramount and Fox.
I think
that's a good thing.
You're absolutely right, but I will say this much. If Disney ever listens to any show I'm on, which I know they're not, but if they were, if Kathleen Kennedy's ever listening to me one day, you want to win the fans back, it's extremely simple. You don't have to go through all the legend stuff to win them back. You don't. You don't have to make everything exactly like the original trilogy. You don't. If you want to win the fans back, you were on the right track when you were bringing on the Game of Thrones guys, Benioff and Weiss. You were on the right track with it because what they were supposed to do. But it's very simple. Make Revan canon. You make Revan canon, and all will be forgiven within the Star Wars universe. I promise you, because the fans are screaming for Revan.
Revan and Thrall.
Revan, Thrall, Malice. You give them.
But those two are.
Are
definitely runners. Yeah, definitely.
You give them a spin-off movie, and you could make it exactly like the plot line from Knights of the Old Republic video game. You can make from beat for beat the plot line for that, and release that. You could release it straight to DVD for all we care. You give them that where he's now canon. You've won the fan base back. I promise you.
And that does, to a certain extent, take a little bit of Lucas signing off on, and he's been reluctant to this point. But I believe that after The Mandalorian's huge success, that's got to be something that they're talking about. It has to be something that they have to bring in, because that's a whole nother 9 movies. if you do it the way that they've done with the Skywalker plan with Revan, you could do a minimum of a trilogy, but you could probably squeak 6 out of it and maybe do a triple trilogy out of it.
Well, let me ask you, with Disney Plus right now and Mandalorian and Clone Wars being so hot, would a movie be the right way to go, or maybe the streaming service and an episodic show devoted to Revan?
No, I believe that 6 hours of content right now is better than 2 hours, just because of everybody's viewing habits. Yeah, you're losing the prestige of $1 billion box office, but if you're doing everything with streaming the way Disney is right now, you're talking about not just $1 billion box office. You're talking about 1 billion subscribers.
Well, that's my point. Would it not be a better choice to go TV show on Disney Plus stream as opposed to a big screen theatrical release?
If you were to leave The Mandalorian as it sits right now, which is not complete, but those 8 episodes drew just as many viewers as The Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
And being able to take a story and extrapolate it over 8 hours instead of the 2 hours that you're given on the big screen, you're able to fill in a lot of blank spaces. You're able to fill in a lot of story, and you're able to actually bring in, even if it's not considered canon, you're able to bring in a lot of connections to canon that you would never get the opportunity to do on the big screen. So yeah, I think that is actually the way of the movie production future. Actually, I think that's something that we're going to see a lot more of over the next 5 to 10 years. Is extended play on something instead of it being a trilogy. Multiple seasons of 8 to 10 or 12 episodes is going to get a lot more viewership and a lot more revenue for them as a studio, but it's going to be able to fill in a lot more details that you can get on just a silver screen production, to be honest. I think that's the way to go.
Well, you know what? It kind of brings us back to the topic at hand. Not that I want to step away from Star Wars. I could talk Star Wars all night. But it brings us back to a topic of conversation where we're talking about like positive things that could come out of the other side of the coronavirus epidemic we're going on right now, or pandemic as it is. You, me, and Michael Moore were talking about it earlier on the phone, where a lot of these movie industries, these studios are talking about releasing their next sets of movies that were supposed to be released, like Wonder Woman 1980 or what 84 I think it is or whatever.
Yeah, the prequel. Yeah.
They're supposed to right now be in talks to be straight to digital release, as opposed to going into the theaters. Obviously, in the pandemic of the virus, which by the way is not a terrible idea. However, on the opposite end of this, once this pandemic is over, maybe that's the way to go. We were talking about it before. Outside of the human connection of socially all getting together to enjoy a movie, really, it seems to me like you would have a better sales, box offices, if you will, if you were to release movies socially. Like before you release them on DVD or you make them streaming services or whatever else, you release them socially where people could be in a chat room like we're doing right now with Facebook Live, where people could talk during the movie, so you have your social interaction, but you're sitting in the comfort of your own home. You could pause the movie to take a leak. You could eat your own snacks that cost a hell of a lot less than the concession stands in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
You know, and today's day and age, most people own like wall TVs or whatever now, so you could still have kind of the big screen experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there is a calling card in there. Where the industry is getting ready to make a huge transition, where the television set is no longer considered to be the minor leagues. There used to be a time, especially from the 70s till the late 90s, early 2000s, where people who primarily were in movies would never be caught dead on TV unless it's the end of their career or they're trying to reboot.
Right.
And I think now we have moved into a transitional period where a lot of big screen actors are enjoying the intimacy that comes from being on the small screen, where all of the fans are able to interact and they're able to have, stay at home on Sunday and everybody watches Game of Thrones. To have your movie be embraced that way, it increases the fandom that's behind your name, increases the star power that's behind the production and the name of the movie itself. I think there's a huge transition coming that a lot of people, not that you have to pay attention to it, but it's kind of what I do for a semi-living with the podcast, is looking at what's coming in the next 5 years or so. Is there's a huge transition that people aren't really aware of, kind of similar to the move from being wired in cable to streaming.
Right. I mean, cable and Fios and all that, they're losing the war to streaming, to Roku, to Fire Stick.
Once the cord cutting revolution started, there's no stopping it. And I think the same thing is in effect for these huge movie production houses. And the ones who embrace it first, like Disney, like Fox, like Paramount, like FX, they're the ones that are going to be hugely ahead of the curve, because they're producing for TV content that 25 years ago would be big screen only.
Right. There's no way even 10 years ago Mandalorian would have been a television series.
No. Hell no. No, everybody would have laughed at it like that was an experiment. Even though it's Star Wars and it's going to draw huge, huge numbers, people would have been like, yeah, but that's just because it's Star Wars. Well, now you look on Paramount, and Kevin Costner has that show, Yellowstone. That's a fucking mini-movie.
Well, I think who really paved the way for that, if I may, I think it's Benioff and Weiss. I think it's Game of Thrones. I think
Game of Thrones and AMC as a company themselves, those, you're on the right path there. Yeah,
well, the reason I give it the Game of Thrones was they were doing high budget, high special effects within Game of Thrones. Like, you take away the sex position and everything else that was in Game of Thrones, and you look at it, it's an action adventure epic with political undertones that should have been on the big screen because of its budget.
Yes, it should have been. It should have been a 9-piece trilogy, 3, 3, and 3, over the course of 20 years. Really,
right.
If there wasn't HBO to do that, that's the way it would have been, and it would have been lost after the third movie. That would have been the end of it.
And that's my point. Like, shows like The Mandalorian and these epics that should be movies now that are television series, they're all existing now because Game of Thrones took that gamble and worked.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Unless you argue the last season. But, I mean, for the most part, it worked.
The last 3 episodes of the last season is the reason there's a lot of rumors that he's reshooting those and rewriting those. There's possibly a spinoff that goes into one of the cottage seasons that comes out. There's talk about them redoing those last 3. And the only reason they're talking about it is because people really hate the fact that he was out of the last 3 episodes as far as writing and directing and producing goes, that it really took a noticeable turn.
But here's the thing about it, though, and I will defend George R.R. Martin, and I will defend Benioff and Weiss in this one instance. As far as, and I'm not thrilled with the ending of Game of Thrones either, but, right. Spoilers for those that have not watched it yet. I'll throw a spoiler warning on there for you. All right. Bran the Broken becoming king. I hate it. I absolutely despise it.
Lazy writing.
But here's the deal. When Benioff and Weiss approached George R.R. Martin to do Game of Thrones, the story goes that George made them sit down with him, and he said one little thing to him. Who in the end gets the throne?
Right.
And if they were able to guess it, he would allow the series to happen. They guessed it. So guess what? Bran the Broken was always supposed to get the throne. My argument isn't so much that it was lazy writing. Right. Yeah. So my argument isn't so much that it's lazy writing. I think it was stupid to just go 6 episodes. I think a lot more story had to be put in to put that in place.
Even at the hour-and-a-half clip that they were running the last 3 hours or 3 episodes, yeah, they could have definitely gone for 10 episodes and the whole season be an hour and a half, and they could have got there. But the way they went into it, the last 2 episodes, there was the rush to get it to be him. That's what I consider the lazy writing.
Right.
They had to the end, and they had 2 episodes to get there. And if they would have had just 4 episodes instead of the 2, they could have written it in smoothly, I think, and there'd be a lot better payoff at the end.
I think there would have been a better payoff, but like a lot of the things were not earned. A lot of the things that people bitched about, they're right, because because of the fact that the last 2 seasons they shortened them and tried to rush everything at once. The two biggest arguments was how the hell did Bran become king? Of course, he was intended to become king. And second off was Khaleesi, Daenerys, her turn. She was the good girl that everybody rooted for up until she was sitting on that wall at the Red Keep, and then all of a sudden, when the bells ring, she just goes, "Well, fuck it, I'm burning everybody."
Yeah, she goes mad and crazy. So obviously, you have to lose your love for her.
But here's the thing, and again, I hate defending it because I get where people are coming from, and I think it would have been explained better if you would have just done season 7 to season 8 as 10 episodes. Like you said, at an hour and a half. But Daenerys was a Targaryen. They're known to a dime. What's the phrase in the show? What was the phrase on the show when a Targaryen is born? The gods flip a coin. It was something like similar to that, as far as whether they would be like great or tyrannical.
And that was part of their family lineage, was to become crazy at any given moment. Over no particular thing, and they really shortchanged that a lot. That could have been drawn out a little bit, not just to fill in the blanks, but they could have really shown a lot of backstory to show why it's about to happen, instead of just imposing that that's what's going to happen.
If I was the writer, I probably would have taken what a lot of people would have considered the obvious choice, or the safe choice, the safe bet. But at the same time, if there's one thing I was most disappointed in, was Jon Snow's ending. Yeah. I think Jon should have had the throne, because he's the rightful heir.
He should have had the throne and then given it to Brendan.
At least that. I didn't like that he just all of a sudden he's a traitor and he's sentenced back to the Night's Watch, and I don't even know how to take his ending. It seems to me like he's abandoning it and just becoming, I forget what they're called, the wild people of the North.
The wildlings. Yeah.
The wildlings. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah. Seems like he just abandoned the Watch and became a wildling.
Yeah.
That's a terrible ending for his story arc.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think at the very least, ascending the throne and then giving it to his brother, who was the rightful born,
Especially because he knows he's a Targaryen, so he hands it to Bran because it's like, I don't want to become...
Yeah, I don't want to go crazy.
Yeah.
If I'm a Targaryen in power, I'm going to go crazy, is the way it is looked at. And... him ascending the throne and then giving it to Brendan, I think, would have been a more plausible ending at the very least.
But I will say this much: my 2 favorite endings of that were the finished storyline of Sansa and Arya. Arya going off exploring and having adventures, and Sansa sitting down as the Red
and the
Wolf.
Hound, that opens up. Her and the Hound exploring together opens up 10 fucking seasons of never-ending shit that they can get into. And it would just be a laugh, because the Hound, one of the things I liked about the Hound from the very beginning is everything he says is comedy gold.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, I love the fact that she's off on adventures, going to see where the map ends and what's beyond, and Sansa becoming the Red Wolf of the North, the Queen of the North. I thought that was fitting.
Those 2 things going on. Yeah, definitely a lot of room there, and they could definitely pick up. But I think they're going to be more interested in doing prequels at this moment. But they definitely left a lot of room to be able to do some stuff.
Isn't the spin-off show supposed to be around? It is a prequel, but it's supposed to be around his other book, Fire and Blood, the story of the Targaryens.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I
He's
thought
going to
so.
do a Targaryen. They're going to do a Targaryen story and supposedly a Stark story. So we'll see.
Well, they kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
You know what? To be fair, though, I'm sorry. I am wrong. There's one other story arc that I thought was a complete waste. It pissed to the point that it pissed me off. Speaking of people, it pissed me off. It actually pissed me off worse than Jon Snow's ending, and that's Jaime Lannister.
Right?
Jaime, you spent 8 seasons having him be the most despicable fucking character on the planet, who turned around and redeemed himself in every way, shape, and form, and then just to throw it all away to die with his sister.
To just die like that in the tunnels in a ball of flame, like, oh fuck, and that was that.
But the reason he was even in those tunnels is that, oh, I'm not a good guy, I'm going back to Jaime or to Cersei. No, he fucking wouldn't. Not with what you set up.
No. He would have abandoned her very quickly, especially over the last 2 seasons. You see the separation definitely occurring naturally, and the fact that they let him go back in there was just such a. They really retreated on the character's character. To be honest with you.
Yep.
They really let that go, and that plays part in the lazy writing that I was talking about, that they just try to tie everything together in too neat of a bow, and just because the ending was already there.
I think if you wanted them both to die together, like they were at the Red Keep, obviously, and this is the point where Dany goes nuts. Again, if I was the writer, I would have had Jaime make it to the Red Keep, and he's fighting with the emotions to kill Cersei, which is what he's there to do. But he's fighting with the emotions like, this is my twin sister. And while he's standing there, that's when Dany starts going ape shit and fucking sends a wall over top of him. Then you still kill them both. They die side by side. But it wouldn't have killed Jaime's fucking story arc.
Right. Yeah, they let it die pretty lazily. And the way that Dany ended on screen, I'm okay with that. The way Jon Snow ended, I'm not okay with, and the way Jaime ended, actually, I'm really not okay with Jaime and Cersei both. I think that Jaime may have waded through whatever monsters were in the way, so to speak, to kill her.
That's what I'm saying. If I were to write it, that's the way I would have wrote it. I wouldn't have had him leave Brienne Tarth because he's not a good guy. I would have seen him as going there to end this once and for all. And once he's standing before Cersei, and especially sees her, have her be as she was, where she finally gets scared and she drops the facade, and she's standing before Jaime and she's pleading for her life because she's scared out of her mind. That's where Jaime hesitates, where he's like, I was here to do this, but I'm seeing my sister again for the first time.
Right.
And during that hesitation, that's when, the keep collapses and both of them get crushed under the weight. At least then you arrive to the save point you had written down, but it would have saved both characters in some way, shape, or form. Personal opinion.
Giving up on them without any action, he could have taken action or taken inaction, like you're talking about, and there would have been some sort of a resolution to the way both characters went through the entire series.
I'll tell you what, though, it's a missed opportunity that the person not sitting on the Iron Throne is fucking Tyrion.
Yeah, there's a lot that could definitely come out of that. That's for sure.
Actually, if I could correct you, like the Hound may have been comedy gold, but if I were to have a spin-off series with Arya and a comedy relief,
her and Tyrion,
I would have Tyrion following her all over the world. Just getting drunk and giving her advice, getting her into all kinds of trouble with his mouth.
Yeah, Tyrion was definitely a saving grace and a lot of dull spots in there. Well, not a lot. There wasn't a whole lot. I mean, there's probably out of the whole 8 seasons, there's probably, maybe 5 or 6 hours of like, okay, come on, let's get on with it. But anytime they could throw in Tyrion, it was always just always good.
It's been a while since I watched the series. I do have the series on DVD, but it's been a while since I sat down and watched it. But thinking about it, there's a lot less fluff or filler episodes in Game of Thrones, at least to my memory, than a lot of other shows.
Yep. There was, in each season, there's probably one episode where they're trying to carry the plot and get you to the resolution of what that story is. But other than that, no, it's all straight driving to the finish line, pretty much season after season after season. And just, you can't speak on how well written of a series that is until the last 3 episodes of the last season. But other than that, I mean, it's still a Hall of Fame 10, period.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even with the disappointing ending, I mean, it's not the first series that ever gave me a disappointing ending. One of the first ones that comes to mind that I remember having where the ending just completely pissed me off was Quantum Leap.
Yes, Quantum Leap. That ended on a very sour note. The series actually, a lot of people think that it got canceled, but the series actually ran its natural course, and on the last episode, they let it go out with a fart instead of a big bang. But it actually ran its course, and there's a lot of people now who have no idea what Quantum Leap is, but it ran its whole 6 seasons and got to the conclusion. It was just a very...
It was a lackluster conclusion.
Very poorly written conclusion, yeah.
What was it? He stopped or was trying to stop the assassination of JFK. And...
Yeah, and they can't change history, and that was that.
And the end of the episode, the whole entire purpose of Quantum Leap was this guy's trapped in time where he's taking over other people's bodies. He's got to right wrongs in their lives, and sooner or later he's going to be able to leap back to his time, his home, where he can rejoin his family. That's the whole premise of the show. So You're watching this show, and the whole entire time you're rooting for him to finally, this will be the one where he leaves home. And we know this is the final episode of the season. He does what he's supposed to do. And then they give you the text outros, talking about like, okay, this person's doing this with their life, and this person's doing this with their life.
Yeah,
and Sam continued. And Sam continued leaping, never returning home. Are you fucking kidding me? Really? That's how you're ending it?
Yep. Yeah, it was poorly executed for a good series. It really was. That's actually my wife. Anytime we see that, she's like, "Oh, I love that show. I used to watch it all the time. It was great. It was great theater. It was great drama, and brought in a lot of things. You're able to see time crossing and everything, and just the way that they ended the series. Because the way they ended it, it will never get the recognition that it actually deserves. It was a great series.
It really was. One of my favorite episodes was when he was a pregnant woman. Go watch the series, you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah, there was actually a couple series where he cross-dressed, or a couple episodes where he did the cross-dressing thing, which both of them were absolutely hysterical. One of them, he was a 1950s something nurse, and it was just absolute chaos all the way through it because he did not know how to handle anything being a woman. I think it was in like season 2 or something like that. Anyways, it was hysterical, the premises they put him in.
Oh, yeah. And you always look forward to the next week because they would always show like he resolved the situation and he would leap, and it would automatically bring him to the next leap. So the ending of the episode, you see him inhabiting the next body he's going to be in, and it's always in some fucked up situation. Like the pregnant lady's about to give birth, and he's pushing, and all of a sudden he leaps. And he wakes up as a black guy that's being lynched.
Yeah, so horrible. If they were to do that now.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it was perfect storytelling, and it always ended with him going, oh, boy. You know what I mean?
If they were to do a series like that and have that kind of thing going on, it would be taken off the air on the first episode.
I don't think so, though, because there was... They had a lot of great subject matters and social matters on Quantum Leap, and especially because Sam went to right those types of wrongs. I think
that would be the saving grace. It's not like he ever appeared on screen in blackface or anything. So
right, he never leapt into Adolf Hitler. You know?
Right. Yeah, but you were able to see all the backdrop and the everything that was going on, and oh man, just the way that they would get to the ending of it and talk through the social matters of the time, like. Well, I can't remember what's his face who guided him through the leaps for the life of me now. But
Al, played by the great Dean Stockton.
Dean Stockton, yes. And whenever Dean would talk to him about, hey, we got to watch out for this or that, like he morally guided him, but didn't actually guide the actions of what was about to be going on. So it could be a reboot or something they could do now. But there was definitely a lot of testy situations.
Take it easy, Josh. Thanks for hanging with us. Sorry,
carefully.
Sorry, our longest watcher had to go, so I was saying goodbye to him.
Okay, cool.
No, but you're absolutely right. In fact, I think we should actually put I'm not one of those people who do the petitions. That's the word I was looking for. The online petitions to get this and that and the other done. In fact, I've done one petition. Yeah. I've done one petition in my life as a joke to piss off a friend of mine that pineapples do belong on pizza. But
the only petition I've ever actively involved myself in is the last 3 censuses. Is that I have declared myself as Jedi as an official religion. That's the only thing that I've ever participated in as far as that goes, but never a TV show.
I'll agree with that. I'll go with that. I'll join the Church of the Wills.
Well, hey, they think 100,000 people say so makes it so, and during the last census, there were 84,000 people who claimed Jedi as a religion. So we're almost there.
Well, I almost think I don't know so much about reboot, but I almost think we got to put a petition out to bring back Quantum Leap.
I think that would actually be a really good. Just bring it back. You don't have to reboot it. We don't have to recover all those old stories. Just bring it back. I think it would be good. It would be topical now. They'd be able to revisit a lot of past situations and make it really cool. And
I'm sure Scott Bakula will jump on board.
Well, yeah, we would definitely have to source another lead actor, but
why would we? Let Scott do his thing. I mean, he is Sam.
He is Sam, and Scott is still very viable. I think he's not quite 60, so we'd be able to get some years out of it. But it would definitely be a great series, regardless.
And we could time move it where he has been leaping all this time. So it would explain his age and his the way he looks and everything, and I mean, we could actually give a logical resolution to Quantum Leap.
Yeah,
I think we should bring it back. Have at least one more season.
At the very least, do like a trilogy. Do like a 2-hour per episode miniseries and tie it together in a good little knot, instead of leaving it open for the people who watched it live, like we did apparently. Because there was a bad ending to that. There's a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of Quantum Leap fans on the way that it ended. So if they could do like a weekend miniseries or something, or a Disney release or whatever, anything like that where they could just put a good bow on it and wrap it all up once and for all would actually be probably pretty fucking cool.
It would be. And while we're on the topic of conversation, guys, also, please, hurry the fuck up with Season 3 of The Orville. I'm like jonesing for some Orville here.
Yeah, that's on like year 3, right?
Yeah,
for the hiatus.
Yeah, it's on hiatus. It's no longer on Fox. It's supposed to be on a streaming service now or something, I think.
It's supposed to be a Netflix original now.
Oh, is it a
new season comes out?
It is a Netflix original now? Okay.
Yeah, it is now going to be a Netflix original, but we're still 2021, I think, is the earliest projections of release. So, I mean, we're still another year and a half away.
I think it's dumb of Fox to let that go. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Orville is more Star Trek than Star Trek right now.
They did an incredibly good job with it. They did really good with their settings, really good with the writing, and just the special effects and the tie-in. Just a really good series, and it is more contemporary than Star Trek, which makes it better.
Well, what's really funny about it is you look at Seth MacFarlane and you look at his body of work. Family Guy, Ted, Million Ways to Die in the West. He's a comedian, and he's a raunchy comedian at that. So you expected when Orville was announced and came out, you expected a comedy with sci-fi elements. You expected Galaxy Quest. Right. Instead, what we got was fucking science fiction with comedy elements. Yep. He wrote a great fucking series.
If anyone back in the day, which Gene Roddenberry grew up and he came up with the Star Trek series here in my neck of the woods in southern Indiana. He worked at a hobby store over on Morgan Avenue, actually here in my town. And while he was writing those, if science fiction at that point in time would have had the leeway to involve some comedy, this is what it would have been. Whenever you're talking about Orville, they really stepped out there on a limb and included a lot of great science fiction writing and included the comedy in it to give it, the Seth MacFarlane feel. But you're right. He did write an incredibly good series. And even if it was to end as it is, without the next couple of seasons coming here in the next couple of years, even if they were to leave it as it is, 10, 20 years from now, it would be considered a science fiction classic.
It really would. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, we've been going through kind of a golden age of television in my mind. Personal mind, because we've had Game of Thrones, we had Walking Dead, and of course we're giving props to things like the Orville. We can't not sing the praises of fucking Ash versus the Evil Dead too.
Oh man, yes, so good.
Again, a series that ended too soon. That ended too soon because there's so much more I wanted out of that show. But my disappointment at its ending isn't because it had a bad ending. It isn't because it wasn't a good show. It was a great show, and that's my disappointment. I want more.
Just the fact that it ended makes it poor. And the weird thing is like all of the other campy movies they did with the Evil Dead, is that their popularity, which would keep it still going on the air for season 4 and 5 and et cetera, is the fact that their popularity doesn't come until after it's gone.
Yep, that's true. That is absolutely true. But
you don't miss what you like until it's gone, kind of deal, and that's the way it is with pretty much every installment from all of the Evil Dead all the way back to 1982.
Yep, the original Evil Dead, which was the only one that wasn't a comedy.
Yeah, the only one that was straight horror. And if you look at it now, there's some comedy aspects to it just because of the way it was produced and everything, but it was not written in any way, shape, or form to be comedy at all. And it was really a scary movie. If you're watching it at 12 years old like I did, fuck me. That's a horrible movie to watch. But now, tying it in with everything else that's come over the past, 38 years now, it's an incredible beginning to a series.
But I do have to give props to Evil Dead 2 because to this day it still has the greatest visual pun of all time, in my personal opinion. We'll test your theory. We'll test your knowledge here. In Evil Dead 2, the scene I'm talking about is when his hand becomes possessed and he's battling his hand and he cuts it off and it's starting to try to crawl away and he puts a bucket over top of it and then he puts a stack of books over top of the bucket. What is the top book?
Isn't the top book? It's not the Necronomicon. It is. It's an H.P. Lovecraft novel.
A Farewell to Arms.
Fuck me. Yeah. Okay.
Greatest visual pun ever.
Yeah. A Farewell to Arms is hilarious. I was thinking of Color Out of Space was one of the books in that stack, but it may be, but not the top one.
Right. The top one that's actually visible on screen is a Farewell to Arms.
I'll have to rewatch that clip. I'm going to pull it up on YouTube. That's awesome.
So yeah, that Evil Dead will always have a special place in my heart. Like, I'm thrilled right now. Netflix is bringing back Kill from Outer Space. Like, I love cheesy B rates.
That's great. Right? That's going to be so campy and so cheesy. Like, if they overproduce it, it can't be better. But even the fact that they're bringing on the old original is really cool, because there's a huge generation that missed out on that. Like, people, how old are you?
43.
Okay, so you're just a few years behind me. I'm 50.
Right.
So there's a huge group of people that missed exposure to those silly ass science fiction horror movies. Like Tomatoes, like Killer Clowns, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They hold a place in the genre today, and there's a lot of people that missed out on it. So the fact that Netflix is bringing it back is cool.
Well, I think, and this is one of the times I'll contradict what we were talking about earlier, with releasing movies straight to digital or whatever being the smart way to go. I think with cheesy B rates, they need to be put back in the formula they were intended. When these movies first came out, whether they were cheesy science fiction or cheesy horror, they were always drive-ins.
Yeah.
Bring back the drive-in and start re-releasing these. And then people will understand the appeal of them.
Yeah, At the Drive-In brings an entirely different context to what's actually going on. One of Joe and I's most popular episodes is we did a tie-in with the Oscars, the 10 most influential Oscar movies of our lifetime.
Okay.
And number 2 for me was Jaws. And the title of the segment is, what kind of psychopath takes a 7-year-old to go see Jaws at the drive-in? Which is what my father did to me. And
I have always argued that we should have a drive-in theme for Jaws. We should. Big screen outside, but instead of cars, you're sitting in rowboats on like a lake.
Well, they did that here in my local town this past
Did they
summer.
really? Nice.
Yeah. So excellent idea, which of course I will never participate in. And,
see, I was 5 when I saw Jaws. I'll tell you my story after you tell yours. So go ahead. Yeah.
So the lead into this is that we're going to go see Star Wars. This is 1978. It's the year of me being 7 and 8 years old. Star Wars has been out for well over a year. The release to the drive-ins is coming on. It's a summer nighttime. We're going to go see Star Wars. My father fails to tell me that Jaws is part of the double bill. Now, at this time, Jaws is 3 years old, so it's not big news. So we go, and the first scene is dun-dun-dun-dun. And for the next 2 hours, I completely freak out, lose my mind. During the course of the night, in the back of my dad's El Camino, a spider crawled on my leg.
Oh, no.
Dad, out of the fucking El Camino, he's like, "What the fuck are you screaming about?" I'm screaming bloody murder. There's a spider on my leg. Unbeknownst to me, my dad is afraid of spiders too, so he's like a fucking madman. And Jaws is going on in the background, and you remember back in the day, whenever you're watching a drive-in movie, like some of the scenery kind of shows up on the ground around you.
Uh-huh.
Well, the ocean and Jaws coming up around the El Camino with the spider on my fucking leg and my old man fucking screaming bloody murder carries on with me for like the next 2.5 years. Like, I was an incredibly good swimmer. But it took me until I was maybe 10 or 11 years old to really want to jump into a public pool again. Like, that night fucking ruined me for about 2.5 years. I would not go to another drive-in. I would not get in the public pool. It was just a series of unfortunate events. It really was. But yeah. Again, what kind of psychopath takes a 7-year-old to go see Jaws?
Well, see, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because it seems like Jaws caused a lot of PTSD for young people.
Yeah.
Because I was 5 years old when I was first experienced to it, and I didn't get to see it in the movie theater. I didn't get to see it in a drive-in or anything. I saw mine at home on Betamax for the first time. But, again, a 5-year-old kid watching Jaws tear the shit out of the small town of Amity. 5 years old is when I started taking showers. I was scared to death the shark was going to come up through the drain and eat me in a fucking bathtub. Like I was so traumatized. I would not get in the water until like you until I was about 11 years old. Like I would take showers because there wasn't no standing water. I wouldn't get in a pool or whatever because no, anything above my ankles was too deep. Till I was about 11 years old because of that fucking movie. I have yet to show my kids they're 10 and 11. I've been going through the classics with them. One of the things we've been doing during the quarantine. Like I obviously already got them into Star Wars. They love Star Wars, and we watched Lord of the Rings, and we're finishing up the Harry Potter series now. And eventually, I'm going to get them into Star Trek and everything. But one day, I'm going to take them on the journey of just the classic movies like Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. and of course, eventually we're going to wind up on Jaws. You still with me there?
And good luck whenever that happens.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm holding off on it,
I don't know for sure.
Well, the reason I'm holding on it is my daughter is gung ho. She don't mind horror. She wants to watch Child's. She wants to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. She wants to see all these. So all for it. She's not. My son. My 10-year-old son, he's a wimp. He had nightmares.
My daughter was huge on horror films until, like, there hasn't been a real big horror movie that she hasn't enjoyed, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
My youngest son, I had to stay up all night with him one night because he saw a YouTube video of SpongeBob with red eyes. Could you imagine? That scared him
really?
up all night. Yeah. Do you think a shark tearing a man in half might be a little too far for somebody like him?
Yeah, that's going to give him nightmare. You're going to have to invest a lot of money in counseling.
Yeah,
is what you need to do.
But then again, I probably need counseling just because I watch these films.
Exactly.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, my daughter is incredibly resilient. She has been since she was, she's 25 now, and ever since the age of 8, she's been able to watch a lot of these movies. And after she watches them, she's like, okay, that's cool. Let's watch another Cabin in the Woods or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, kid? Like, she's just super resilient whenever it comes to that stuff. And all of this stuff going on now, like, my daughter is one of those people who lives in a little bit of a far-fetched fantasy land, and she's like, yeah, the apocalypse would be cool because she watches The Walking Dead.
Ah, okay.
And, yeah, it's one of those kind of fantasy crossovers where she kind of thinks that that's like romantic and attractive or whatever because there's no rules, there's no bills, nobody has a high-powered job, no minimum wage. She finds some attraction in that. Now, okay, I get it, I guess. And now all of this is going on, and she called me and the wife yesterday, and she's like, so how are you guys? Do you guys have any extra food? Because we haven't been able to find anything at the stores. And I'm like, well, I thought you were ready for the apocalypse. I've been with so much shit over the past few days. And she takes it all with in pretty good stride. But, whenever she said that at the beginning of the shutdown, she's like, all right, cool, we're going to see what it's like. I'm like, no, not cool. What the fuck is wrong with you?
That's hilarious, though. That is hilarious because it's like I've thought about that myself, watching things like The Walking Dead, and of course I'm a video gamer, so I play games like fucking Fallout,
all that shit, yeah,
like Fallout and all that. So I do get a kick out of the post-apocalyptic world, but I think if I were to live in a post-apocalyptic world, I think I'd rather be in like Mad Max's world than fucking Walking Dead. To be completely honest, give me the Road Warriors over the Walkers. Take me to Thunderdome.
Definitely. Yeah. Let me fight about it, instead of having to worry about motherfuckers just tiptoeing up to me.
Yep. And at least then I'm not so much worried about food, just gasoline.
Yeah, exactly. All I need is gas and I'm cool.
Yeah. But Chris, we're at the 2-hour mark, man. We were supposed to be doing an hour episode.
I'm like, fuck, where did time go? We've already hit 2 hours. Yeah.
I definitely think we need to do this again and get more people. What do you guys think? Obviously, the people that are with Facebook Live, we can get instant reaction from. But I definitely think like maybe I will be releasing this on YouTube and maybe on Twitter. Just so people can hear it, didn't get a chance to see it live. And with doing that, what do to those guys, comment section down below, let us know. Do you want us to continue to do this, especially during the pandemic, the apocalyptic world that we live in right now?
The apocalyptic world, yeah.
I
think if everybody would kind of take a look at a way of giving us a little guidance on what subjects you want us to talk about, I think this would be a great ongoing kind of forum for us to do, especially during the lockdowns, if nothing else.
And I think we could also play around with it too. Like I hosted this one.
I'll host this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could still record it if we want to, re-release afterwards. But you can host the next one, or the next one can be hosted by the next guest. The next guest and the next guest, like however we do it, like so that way it really spreads around and everybody can get a chance to enjoy this, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I again, one of the funny things we talked about in the top of the hour was the fact that you and I don't even know each other really. We've talked one previous time for like 10 minutes, and we just had a 2-hour podcast.
Right.
So.
And that's the great thing about this medium is the fact that, if you're able to take two like-minded people and put them on the same forum and give them kind of an open freeway to be able to talk a little bit, you can really come up with maybe not so many diamonds, but you can definitely come up with a lot of good topics and a lot of good subject matter and cross over it in a short period of time and talk about a lot of stuff, man. That's cool.
But yeah, I think for the next one though, I don't think I'll use the Coast to Coast Power Hour logo for the intro for the top of it. That was I had nothing else available, and we were trying to get this started. I apologize.
Yeah, we did this on a shoestring, literally, and so yeah, next time we'll collab a little bit before we go live and figure out how we want to put it out. But yeah, I've had a great time, man, for sure.
Absolutely. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, real quick, let's just go ahead and give a quick rundown where people can find you and your show. And I'll give my where they can find me and my shows. And, of course, much love we got to give before we even do either of that to SJ Network, the guys who not only got us together, but encouraged us to even do this and put this on. So, definitely SJ Network and Steve Joyner. Thank you so much. This happened because of you, brother.
Yeah, man, Stephen J. A big shout out to him, and you can find us at the. You can request to join the What's Your Effin' Binge fan group. You can also find us on the What's Your Effin' Binge public page at What's Your Effin' Binge Facebook. You can also find our website on Google at What's Your Effin' Binge. Also on Instagram and Twitter at What's Your Effin' Binge. And Chris Rutter and Joe Shriver are the individual hosts of that. You can find us individually or under the group names of What's Your Effin' Binge.
Nice. And, of course, you can find me on Realm of the Mist Entertainment, whether on YouTube. You can check out all the great quality podcasts there, or check out our sister channel, Sounds Gaming, for all your video game, Let's Play, and tabletop content needs. And if you prefer your podcast in audio format, just look up Realm of the Mist Entertainment on Anchor.fm, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. And, of course, on all the social medias, just look for Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Guys, thank you again so much. I had a blast doing this. Excuse me. Really one of the first times I ever played with Facebook Live, so it's kind of a neat little learning experience.
Yeah.
But instant gratification.
Definitely, man. And I appreciate being on here with you and getting some exposure with everybody, and you, of course, getting exposure with our group. It's all good, man. Definitely.
Absolutely. And I think by next week, you and I have homework to do. I think we got to come up with a name for this. Because it can't be SJ Network Coast to Coast Power Hour. We're just stealing it away from people then.
Definitely, man.
All right, guys.
All right, brother, I appreciate it.
Thank you, and have a good night, guys. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Definitely.